Thank you, Mayor Taylor. Yeah, so these are very, very important topic, and a lot of my council colleagues have brought forward, the real significant, questions and details that need to be pulled out of here. One thing that kind of popped up to me, and twice here we talk about providing a range of housing needs, group homes, those with additional needs, vulnerable shelters, and then policies to allow for group homes or shared occupancy. So I guess in my experience, I know that group homes specifically, halfway houses, that idea, they're largely controlled by the province in terms of their location and a lot of other factors to that. Are these policies, are we looking to kind of get in there a little bit and add it to our policies so that we have some control into group homes and shared occupancy and these other types of examples that you put in here?
That's a tough one. Who wants to handle that? Nobody's jumping up.
Through into, I was wondering if Greg or the consultant wanted to address it, but I mean, you're correct. I mean, our official plan is out of date in terms of our official plan, or the policies around group homes.
I mean, we
need to update that, and there are, there's we need to think about the parking requirements as well that go along with those for staffing and things like that. So, it's early in the game on this one as well, but it is something we need, that needs to be looked at, particularly our old official plan policies, and maybe Greg can maybe jump in with some examples of what he's seen in other municipalities, or just some of the principles behind what we have in mind for this one.
Mm-hmm. And then certainly through you, Mayor Taylor, to the councillors, very, very good questions. Group homes or supportive housing is something that has changed significantly over the number of years, certainly since your OP was written. There's different approaches to address supportive housing. Understanding that they are very much a land use and not necessarily looking at the individuals who may be housed in the different forms of housing. Now, if there's an institutional nature or correctional nature to the various forms of housing, that's something that can be looked at, but we would certainly, as part of this exercise, look to add a contemporary lens to we'll just say supportive housing or housing for individuals with different needs. And so on.
Yes.
Yeah, just very quickly follow up on that. My understanding was that under provincial legislation, things like group homes have a right to exist, that they don't require our permission in any way. And certainly there are parking requirements, good neighbor requirements. Sometimes it's a special case that if it's, for example, a halfway house, proximity to schools, things like that. But for the most part, in general, my understanding is that group homes and those type of special needs housing exist by right.
And through you, Mayor Taylor, the municipality is obliged to consider how various supporting housing types are to be permitted in the municipality. Certainly, the provincial government has certain powers, but they do want to see how and where they are to be considered. I will say generally, supportive housing would be permitted anywhere where there's residential uses. Now, you can direct them to certain areas where there might be more access to transit, more access to other amenities, but generally, in many other municipalities, supportive housing would be permitted anywhere where there's a residential use.
And Greg, is that's different than congregate living, right?
Perhaps you can define that for me, Mayor Taylor, very generally what...
I don't know entirely. I'm hoping you'll educate me, but it's, I guess I'm here, I think Toronto just went through an exercise where they either are in the process of or have allowed, as of right, congregate living, which I think of supportive housing or group home is supported by agencies, et cetera, et cetera. Congregate living is like a boarding house almost, like unless...
Oh, boarding, lodging, rooming, yeah.
So help us understand the difference there and what's the policy related to it.
Certainly. Now, it does depend on, we're sort of talking about something we haven't necessarily discussed in any great detail, but I will say based on my experience, you remove the individuals who would be housed in those facilities, and it's a residential use. So whether it's, you know, now there are fire code requirements and different building code requirements depending on the number of individuals. Generally, that's more than 10 people. Somebody can correct me on that, but I believe it's more than 10 people. So if you've got a situation where you can call it congregate living or boarding, lodging, rooming houses, or even group homes, or other supportive housing types, wherever there's residential use, and you look at the land use impact. So regardless of the individual living there, what would the land use impact be from a group home or a boarding, lodging, rooming house? Right. Would it be parking? You would address that accordingly. Would it be other site plan elements, because there might need to be more amenity space or fencing or lighting? That's what you would need to address, not necessarily the individual or individuals residing on that property.
And this ties to the well-known phrase that you cannot people zone.
Right. You got it, exactly.
Yeah, and I think that's so. Thank you, for all that. That's sort of where I was leading to. You're right about the individuals within the house as opposed to the use of the house, and then just what type of control over there. So yeah, look, just wanted to kind of shed light on those 2 points that you had there, and that's being looked at in a way that way. Thank you.